Good evening, all. Uh, I'm
Good
really,
evening, sir.
I'm really pleased to have you all here, Abhishek, Tushar, Pooja, and Narayan, and myself. So I'm really happy to host this event, and I thank Pooja for co-hosting with me. Anyway, today's topic is recent budget of India 2022. We are going to talk about that. Lot many topics which are involved in the budget. Uh, each individual will be discussing on different points or maybe same points. Let's put forward our points. First thing, I'm going to speak about the topic and what things we are going to cover here. The theme of the budget of 2022 is the green focus that talks about increase in allocation for hydro and solar projects up to 1 lakh crores and issuance of sovereign green bonds in government projects to reduce India's carbon footprints. So that is the major focus of budget of 2022. And they're trying to project India's GDP growth at 9.27 percentage, which is the highest when it is compared to the most advanced economies. That's what they're trying to project within these years. And coming ahead, I have got big four priorities which were part of the budget of 2022. First is Gati Shakti. It's also known as PM Gati Shakti. PM is behind this, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it was launched in 2021 October. Actually, this Gati Shakti talks about bringing 16 ministries of central government together to collaborate and work well so that they can reduce the cost, logistic cost. So that is the main agenda. And earlier all these departments were working individually and there was a lot of delay in the process, maybe a lot of expenditure. Taking all these things into consideration, they plan to bring all this on one digital platform that's called Gati Shakti. They also have 110 lakh crore investment to national infrastructure project pipeline. It is national infrastructure pipeline. This was launched in 2019. Uh, Many things are coming together here. Actually, one point I want to mention here, and one question would I like to raise: when does the financial year commence for India? Anybody can answer. When does the financial year commence for India or within India? Come on, guys.
So it starts from 1st of April and lasts till 31st of March.
See, here is a guy who is involved into he was seriously involved in project, seriously involved in budget. Absolutely, that is the right answer. That's the right answer. It starts on 1st April and it ends on 31st of March. Right. Thank you, Abhishek. So there are other 3 points which we need to touch here. That is inclusive development. Third point is productivity enhancement and investment. And fourth point is sunrise opportunities and energy transition and climate action. So these are again, as we talked, as I mentioned earlier, we are focusing on climate things, climate change and actions and energy transition. So we can discuss about those things. Yes. And another point I need to highlight here, while mentioning the budget, the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman, even she said that they are laying the foundation for the next 25 years from India at 25 to India at 100. That's they call Amrut Kal, to create a milestone, historical milestone for the future. They have the project for plan for 25 years. That's all about the budget in a nutshell. So let's get into discussions. So you guys can carry forward. Yes.
Good evening, guys. I'm Tushar Mandal. So this year budgets or the budget of the financial year 2022 to 2023, the main focus of this budget is helping people to catch the fish. I'm using it as an analogy just. Instead of providing fish into their platter, They're helping people to catch the fish. That's the main focus of this budget. Rather than usually budget consists of these two agendas, but this year's main agenda is to catch the fish, which is having a long-term goal. As Sir said, since we are entering the 25 years, means 25, we are going to come. Our country is going to complete 100 years. So we are entering the Amrit Kal. So our government is having a visionary, so that it can planning to have long-term goals. So, as Sir mentioned, the four priorities of the budgets, which are PM's Gati Shakti, inclusive development, productivity enhancement, sunrise opportunities, energy transition, and climate action. As Sir also mentioned, that the PM Gati Shakti mainly focuses on the infrastructure development. The seven ministry, the main ministries, which comes under this are the roads, the railways, airports, ports, mass transport, waterways, and logistic infrastructure. Around 20,000 crore is mobilized to create and expand the national highways up to 25,000 kilometers. That's the plan for our future. Now, the government has also introduced the ropeways for the hilly areas where people transit from the lower part of the mountain to the upper part of the mountain using this ropeway system, which may expand up to 60 kilometers. Now, when we come to the inclusive development, the main focuses are health sector, skill development, MSME, AVGC, and Atmanirbhar Defense. As we know, MSME is the growth engine of our country, and MSME, which also with its full form is micro, small, medium enterprise. The main focus, it helps us to provide then run the country. It creates jobs for many people. So there was a scheme, that is schemes, which has been extended to the March 2023. So what is this scheme? Actually, during the pandemic, when you see every market, so the MSME was in a critical condition. They were out of funds, so they needed funds. And the government and the banks also, they weren't providing funds to them because banks were not sure whether the enterprise would sustain the market fall or not. So, in that part, the government intervenes and takes guarantee that if suppose this business is not able to run, we will take the guarantee and we will pay your money with interest. So this credit scheme have been increased till March 2023 for March 2000. And another 16,000 crore is allocated for raising the MSME in a program which helps the MSME to lead further, and it helps to develop it. The main budget, which and the main focus of one of the main focus of the budgets were AVGC Promotion Task Force, which is a new scheme in which animation, visual effects, gaming, and comic were the main ideas behind the AVGC Promotion Task Force. You see, as the current technology is developing, these sectors are growing well. So the government sought an interest in that field and need to develop that field. Now, when we come to the Atmanirbhar Defense, 68% of the capital procurement budget is embedded for the domestic industry only. As we know, we import a lot of defense item from import lot of defense item. So it's highly time that we create indigenous weapons so that we can protect our country. So therefore, and also the 25% of the defense R&D budget has been allocated to the academias, industries, and startups to help them in defense R&D. Now, as we move on, one of the main important focuses were the sunrise opportunity. Government has sought to contribute more on the sunrise opportunities, which are the artificial intelligence then mobile security, and many other fields, and so on. So the budget, the main focus, as Sir discussed, is energy transaction and climate action. As we know, uh, since the coming years, government is providing green bonds. Green. So now, what are green bonds? Green bonds mainly focuses on government will, for example, in simple words, let me explain it. Bonds are as usual. The government will take money from the common people and make investment in whatever infrastructure it wants to. And when it shows its pay, it will return it to the people. So, like that, government is issuing green bonds. The green now, what's a green bond? Is particularly related to the items or materials required for making, uh, such as solar panels, hydroelectric storehouses, like that. So governments will take money from the people, invest in such green projects, and it will after shows effect for, and the effect, and the, you see, the output won't be in just 1 or 2 years. It may take time. So the government green bonds, which are green bonds, so that we can help in contribution of the country. Thank you.
So thank you, Tushar. I'd like to add on a few more points to that. A very good evening, everyone. This is Abhishek Pradhan. And as you all know, the topic that we are going to discuss today is budget and the opportunities of budgets. So before going into the topic, let's just analyze and understand what this term budget actually means. Well, budget, technically speaking, is a detailed plan of all expenses and revenue. Let's analyze that with an example. Let's consider you're staying in a hostel and your parents send you money for your day-to-day needs, for your daily needs, for on a monthly basis. So, for example, let's assume it to be as around 2000. Your parents send you around 2000 per month. Now you need to plan your expenses, obviously, right? There are four, generally you have 4 weeks in the month, so you need to plan accordingly to it. So how much do you spend, how much you want to spend, what are the in because there's only one source of income, that's which is your parents money. So based on that income, you need to plan your aspects, your requirement satisfaction, your fulfillments. So based on that, you plan a procedure or a budget. So this is where the budget comes in. Okay, so you plan your expenses, you plan your expenditure. So that is the real use of budget. Now, why is this budget so important? What's the actual need of a budget? See, if you don't have a well planned, if you don't plan your expenses, and by any chance if you fall shortage because your expenses are more rather than your income, so you might go haywire then, because you might not satisfy, you might not have enough money at the end of your month, and you need to borrow it from others. Okay, when it comes to individual, it's far easier, you can just borrow from your friend. But when it comes to a nation, it becomes very much complicated. So in order for the country to run in a stable manner, in a stable economical manner, you need to plan your expenses. So this entire process of planning your expenses is called as budget. Okay, this budget planning, in a simple words, would be planning your expenses for a certain period of time. Usually that's considered to be as 1 year, annually. Every year, the finance minister, presently who is Nirmala Sitharaman, provides her idea or finance bill, which is called to be as a budget. Now, generally, which on the current trend, every budget, a new budget is always initiated in the 1st of Feb. And the finance year, as we have already discussed, it starts from 1st of April and ends at 31st of March. Within this initiative period, there's a lot of process involved. For example, there are 6 process basically for any finance budget to be approved. First step would be, yeah, presentation of a budget. Second thing would be a general discussion on budget. And your third step would be scrutiny. This scrutiny process is very important. Or let's just analyze what the scrutiny is all about. For example, now the rule, the budget states you are in, you have to, the government has planned 5,000 crore for the agricultural field. Now, the opposition party might just question that. Why do you want 30,000? Why do you want that huge amount? You can just reduce that. All right. So that is where the scrutiny comes in. Then it goes for after you have all discussed or the opposition has put forward its views, then it goes on to voting. Usually, the majority of the parliament, majority party in the parliament wins, so the bill is passed after that. Then after after it has been approved by all, after it has been voted, then it has been passed on to the parliament, and finally it has been declared as in public to the entire nation that this is the finance bill or this is the budget which has been announced for this particular year. So that is this is the general introduction or the basic idea about budget. Now talking about this budget of 2022. This budget of 2022 is a really spectacular one because it projects stating that the GDP growth of this year is assumed to be as 9.2%, which is commendable. That's because this is one of the highest percentage of uh, economic growth which has been assumed throughout the world. So if we achieve this which is 9.27, it's really going to be a very commensable opportunity for India. Now, this budget of 2022, it's like something special in it. It has something special in it, which is that's the reason it's been themed. The theme behind this 2022 budget is Amrit Kal. The term Amrit Kal has been used by a finance minister a lot. So she's specifying what is this Amrit Kal all about. Well, she's imagining presently that we are celebrating the 75th independence of our nation. So she's projecting 25 years ahead. So what is she planning is within the next 25 years, that is when India reaches to its 100th independence, there are various sectors which are being planned within this 25 years. So they are projecting a bright and a prosperous India in the next 25 years. So the main theme behind this Amrit Kal is PM Gati Shakti, then it is inclusive development, then productivity, energy transmission, and financing investments. So these are the four major sectors which they have been planned based on this Amrit Kal. Then goals, what are these goals of Amrit Kal? There are basically three main goals. The first goal and the prior most would be focus on growth of overall inclusive welfare. The second will be promoting technological development, which includes even the energy transmission and climatic actions. The third would be starting with your own private investments. This time, the government has really taken an initiative in enhancing and improving the private investments. So this is the basic idea of the 2022 budget. Now, most of the points have been discussed by my friend Tushar. One more point of this budget is the government or the budget states you have 30% tax on digital currencies. Digital currencies or the cryptocurrency, the government has levied 30% of tax. Now, this is this is the highlight of the budget this time, because many people before the declaration of this budget, many people were still confused. Should they invest in cryptocurrency or not? Because the government wasn't certain enough to make it legal or not. So they were still the people were in a dilemma. Should they invest in this cryptocurrency or not? And for your notice, it is that India is, in the present scenario, India is one of the leading countries to invest in the cryptocurrency. So this decision was very vital for the economical background. But as the government stated that it's gonna charge 30% on any digital incomes. Added to that, it's gonna charge 1% on every transactions. 1% TDS will be charged on every crypto transactions. But stating that, yeah, it's going to charge 30% doesn't make that the cryptocurrency is all legal. What the government has planned is this cryptocurrency that you are going to invest is going to be one of your aspects. For example, your house, the gold that you buy is in assets. So those things are not your part of your income. They are your assets and you pay tax for them. So this is what the basic idea of this is. It is not completely legal. It's not considered to be as a source of your income. It's been considered as your asset and you need to pay tax accordingly to it. Now, few more points added to it. Just to add to your scenario, there are 17,000 crores invested within India in cryptocurrencies. So when you include 30% of the tax, which means 70,000 crore approximately is being given to the government, which is being further used for their own budget planning. Okay, and there's one more guidance which has been stating that by the year 2023, the RBI is gonna start its own digital cryptocurrency. Well, for some people, as it might not sound that great, that's because we are gonna pay 30% of the tax to the government, which is we have analyzed already, which is 70 crore approximately. But on a progressive view, for the entire nation, it's going to be really improvement because it will have another source of income. And moreover, as we have gotten another this time the budget also provides an stable economy for us. That is because it has at least validated the use of cryptocurrency. Before to that, it was still not. People were in dilemma: will this still ban? Will they ban it, or can we still invest in it? But with this statement that is going to cost 30% of the income, we have got a basic idea stating, yeah, okay, we can still invest in it. But rather than it considered to be as an income, it is considered to as an asset. Now there are various fields in which your money or the money is invested in. Initially, when talking about budget, now have you ever thought of what is like how from where which on sectors does the country gets its amount to invest in different sectors? Initially, it's obviously it's going to be the tax that we pay. So based on this 2022 budget, there are various tax which have been initiated. Few of them would be, okay, now I'll be stating where this rupees comes from. The initially this rupee from the basic entire GDP of the country, 15% would be charged from the corporation, 15% again will be charged from the income tax, 5% will be charged from the custom duties, and 7% would be charged from the union exercise duties, and further goes on. Now, there are even various fields where these the government has even planned where these fields are going to be invested. Further being said that it will be invested around 9% in central sponsored schemes, other 9% in other expenditures. Your interest payment that we are going to pay is going to charge around 20%, and in the defense, it's going to cost around 8%. So this is some of the fields in which the government is planning to take the amount and invest it in these sectors. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. As Tushar brother and Abhishek brother said everything about today's budget, they explained very well and beautiful about this budget. Just I'll go generally about this budget. From last 2 years, we are seeing that people have depended more on technology because of this Corona, COVID. They are well dependent on COVID, this technology. Therefore, now government has decided to develop more technology, even in farming sector, in every sector. First, they prefer to develop technology through which everyone gets profit. In every sector, technology they developing. So therefore, with that sector, even farmers will get benefited. And as we know, in foreign countries, as in everything they get rating everywhere for which places, which this such plannings they are bringing in town planning and every planning. So because of this technology development and through MSME, we are getting so many opportunities to develop ourselves, to bring out our ideas. Through this, I'd like to finish my 2 words. Just thank you, sir.
Welcome, Narayan. It was good. So going to Pooja now.
Thank you, sir. So, hey everyone, I'm Pooja, And regarding this year's budget, that is budget for 2022 for the country India, I have a summary, a very brief summary, but hoping to cover most of the highlights. So, emerging from the shadow of the pandemic, India is aiming for a 9.27% growth. The target is to become a $5 trillion economy. This is a futuristic budget that can propel growth. So, moving on to the first highlight, that is tax on digital assets. India will not ban them, but rather tax them at a rate of 30% for either income or transfer of any virtual digital asset. And unlike the reports like the previous year, which had that the Indian government could ban the digital asset, it has not done so. This has become a bittersweet news. Bitter because they'll be taxed for 30%, and sweet because it is not going to be banned. And till last year or till now, India does not have a law to regulate these virtual digital assets, but this move seems to be a signal. The second is the digital rupee. India is getting its very own digital currency, and RBI will be issuing it in the new financial year, which is 2022-23. This will be a big boost to the digital economy, which will also lead to more efficient and cheaper currency management system. Indian rupee is done in an Indian blockchain, the digital rupee, and 9 countries have it so far, and India wants to be on the list. The next is about income tax. It is as it is, just like half glass empty and half glass full. So there is no changes to the tax, but the only change is on how you file them. We can file an updated return within 2 years. That is, if at all you have made any mistake in your first attempt of filing, you have 2 years from then to rectify it. The next is Mega Connectivity Push, also called as PM's Gati Shakti plan. India wants to spend big on infrastructures, which is 20,000 crore rupees, more than $2 billion. And PM's Gati Shakti plan to facilitate faster transfer of goods, speed up cargo movements, and improve logistic networks, which includes ministries of airport, road, railways, ports, mass transport, waterways, and logistic infrastructures, major development on national highways. The next is to build 400 new trains and 100 cargo terminals in the next 3 years by spending $100 billion, which is 35% more than 2021, double of what India had spent before the pandemic. And it is direct spending that is given here, which means government itself will be footing the bills. A boost for Make in India in defense, where there is a marginal increase, allocation of 5.25 lakh crore rupees, which is more than $60 billion. Increase of 5% from the last year is found. Bulk of this budget will be given to Indian manufacturers, where 68% of procurement will be done by the domestic players, 25% is set aside for research and development. Large chunk of this will be given for upgrades. The next is Indian passport, where e-passports will be issued unlike all these years. It was first announced in 2019 and ruled out as well. This is a new way of having a passport where the passport comes with a small silicon chip attached behind it. It will include all necessary details such as your name, address, etc. And also it will include data on your last 30 visits. So more than 100 countries have it so far, and be proud, now India has one too. 5G technology will be coming in 2023. Spectrum has already been auctioned this year, and it'll be a home for 5G manufacturing. Incentives are announced for equipment makers. Also, proposal to bring internet to Indian villages. Government has awarded contracts to lay optical fiber cables around the country. This brings us to the next highlight, which is digital education. There are plans to develop digital university and provide students with world-class education. Another proposal, which was e-Vidya, under which government had earlier set up 12 TV channels to teach students, now expanded to 200 channels to provide supplementary education in different regional languages. The last, which is a rare thing which generally never makes into the union budget, is mental health. Pandemic has accentuated mental health problems across age groups, which was stated by the finance minister herself. So India will launch a national tele-mental health program with NIMHANS as the nodal center and IIIT Bangalore providing the tech support. Now, apart from these, we have few more highlights for the youth, which is also known as youth-oriented spending. The first one is focus on new sectors such as mental health, gaming, and animations. These usually never make it to the union budget, but be happy it has done this time. Setting up special task force to harness gaming and animation, not just a new spending in the market, but also something which youth are good at. The next is the green push, which where 19,500 crores are spent to make solar modules, not directly but as incentives. Also announced a green bond and a national battery swapping scheme, which is a green pivot in the budget. India wants to be carbon neutral by 2070, and for that, the budget must reflect green ambition. Self-sufficiency in defense. Till now, India was a buyer in this market, but this is the first step towards becoming a seller. That is self-sufficiency. The aim or the idea is first supply your own army and then supply abroad. Apart from this, we have one more news for the youth, which is regarding the startups. Startups which will be started in this upcoming financial year will be waived off 100% from the tax, or they will get a 100% tax rebate for the next 3 years. This was announced in the previous year budget, but the time has been expanded for the next 3 years. Also, the time has been given even for this financial year. So I hope to have covered most of the highlights, a small briefing, and thank you.
Thank you, Pooja, for covering entirely budget of 2022. And I thank individually everyone, Pooja, Abhishek, Tushar, and Narayan, for being here and sharing your views on budget as well as explaining what the budget is in a vivid manner. I really appreciate each one's contribution here. And yeah, each one of us is different. We have tried from our own efforts to differentiate the understanding we have got from the budget. Anyway, it was a really wonderful experience to be here. And yes, I'm going to complete the meet. Thank you all.